Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome. It is Shadow at Night. It is Thursday, September the 12th, 2024. On the show tonight, is it Voodoo? Are they doing voodoo in Ohio? Who do voodoo? They do voodoo. The Haitian immigrants, the protected immigrants, the asylum seekers in Ohio and Springfield, Ohio. Is it voodoo that's causing these animals to go missing? Even though the police and city officials say that's not happening at all. Also, there is an alleged ABC fact checker who's willing to come out and tell us everything about what happened behind the scenes during the debate and before the debate the other night between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And that is that that debate was rigged. That is what this whistleblower is going to be talking about in the next 12 to 24 hours. So I'm going to have, and that's in Newsweek, believe it or not. So we'll have a little bit more info on that. Also, the Trudeau government this is actually a very savvy political move. They are going to be moving asylum seekers away from Ontario and Quebec, where all the votes are, and both those provinces are screaming for the government to do something. So they're going to be redirecting these asylum seekers to British Columbia, Alberta, and New Brunswick. And the premiers of those provinces, obviously, well, David Eby in BC has said nothing. We welcome more people. We got the room. Don't worry about it. Meantime, housing crisis through the roof in Vancouver. Danielle Smith and Blaine Higgs in Alberta and New Brunswick, respectively, has said, wait a minute, hold on. We haven't got the space for this. You guys are going to have to pay through your teeth if you want us to do that. That story is coming up and all kinds of way more stuff. There's so much stuff. I'm going to go into the background of voodoo in Haiti and voodoo in Africa and what they actually do. And then there's some pretty graphic video I'm going to play for you guys as well. So hang on for all of that stuff. Before we go any further, before we do anything else tonight, this is something I've been meaning to do for a couple of days now, and I've forgotten the last two nights, and I wanted to make sure I got it out at the beginning of the show tonight. As we know, Chris Carbert and Tony Olenek were sentenced both to 6.5 years in prison on Monday, and they get time served for 4 years of that, meaning they've got 2.5 years left to do, obviously. Granny Mackay tells us right now the boys are in Calgary in lockup, and as early as tomorrow, they could be transported to their new prison homes in either Drumheller or Bowden or both. So we'll stay on top of that. Tony chose to address the court on Monday, and Chris did not. Chris left us a note, and I'm going to read it to you now from Chris Carbert. Hello, everyone. So I want to start by thanking everyone for all the support during these times. As you've likely heard, Tony and I were sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. Over the past 3 court appearances, the justice went from agreeing with my lawyer that although I spoke about the potential of a civil war, should things not change, but there was no immediacy to the comments. This is a little bit jumbled, so I'm going to try and give it to you as best I can. This spring, a movie called Civil War hit the theaters, and when the director was asked where he came up with the idea, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, anyone living in 2021 was unsure where the world was going, and that was a serious concern. The next court date, the justice gave his facts of findings, and in this changed his mind to I may have engaged in a firefight with hundreds of police if they broke up the protest, to today saying I was getting ready to do this very act. Let's talk about some facts now. The Crown alleged that if the RCMP came in to break up the protest, we were going to shoot and kill police. We were found not guilty of this, or so one would think, because that's not what the jury found. Another fact, on Sunday, February 13th, 2022, RCMP came into the Coots protest very heavily armed and with what people thought was to break up the protest. We did not engage in a firefight, but what did happen is we went over to check it out. Chris and Tony stayed to film the events, and I went back to my trailer when some young men started mouthing off to the police. I wanted no part of that. When Chris and Tony were arrested, why didn't they have weapons on them? Shouldn't they have been prepared? You'd sure think they would have been with these allegations. If anything, this was them taking the protest down, or from a distance could be perceived as such. Calling in the troops, like they suggested, were on the outside waiting for the call to join in this imaginary war they've made up. I was told about the arrests and talked to people about it and then went to sleep. If we were planning to shoot police. Don't you think when those other two were arrested, I would have thought they were onto us and I either packed up and left or ran and hid? I was woken up by a loud hailer to come out of my trailer. Why did I pace in the trailer while on the phone trying to find the lawyer's number and not engage in this fight that they allege? Why weren't these troops, they allege, on the outside, get called in by me? They say Tony talked about people on the outside 4 days before they were arrested. Did the helicopter and drone see any troops waiting on the outside ready to come in? Nope. Because it's another lie. I have a lot to share now, so bear with me as I get through all the things people don't know. Let's talk about the infamous envelope now. This is Chris Carver again, the words of Chris Carver, if you're just getting here now. Lawyers were not allowed to tell us what they found, but we heard what they said in court while tippy-toeing around what they did find. We know that, hang on one second. We know that 3 of the province's better lawyers said the Crown prosecutor should be criminally investigated and criminally charged. Is my audio terrible, you guys? Can you hear me at all? Because this is incredibly strange that this happens while I'm reading stuff from the Coots guys. I'm going to go to the comments and check and see what you guys... I'm just getting messages here from people. Muffled. Static audio sped up. Crackly. What about now? Is it still crackly and weird now? I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to respond. My audio is speeding up. It's okay now? Give me the go-ahead? All right. That is so bizarre. All I did was move this message from one screen to the other. Anyway, let's go back to talking about the infamous envelope. So now I'm going to have to move my head over here, you guys, so that I can read this note from Chris Carver. So let's talk about the infamous envelope now. Lawyers were not allowed to tell us what they found, but we heard what they said in court while tippy-toeing around what they did find. We know that 3 of the province's better lawyers said the Crown prosecutor should be criminally investigated and criminally charged, that innocence was at stake. The 3 Crowns committed crime, fraud. They tampered with evidence, gave RCMP unlawful orders, and so many more things that the world is going to find out. Where's the press on this one? There is the criminal investigation into the officer the Crown put on the stand to lie about what he said Lysac said to him the night of the 13th. We have video that proves this officer lied on the stand. The judge said I lied about everything I said, but of course not the things that helped them. Why would I tell them what I did knowing it didn't help me? Because it was all the truth, all the truth. My lawyer failed to go through my phone like we planned because of the judge's pressure not to, because the jury was sitting weeks longer than thought. Bye-bye my defense. We could have shown that my mom kept asking me if I was going home or other things of this nature, even after telling her repeatedly I wasn't going until mandates were dropped. And on February 12, 2022, I lashed out and said I wasn't leaving until the laws were changed and the government was toppled. This does not make this okay to do, but we tend to talk to people we're close to differently than to others. It's actually wrong, but that's what I did. Responding to what my mother said, Chris, be safe, your kids need you, because she was scared what the government was capable of doing. And again, I made a colorful comment saying I didn't think she understood what this really was about, and that if we didn't get these changes, I could die in a civil war, and that if the government was violent, that I would defend myself. Yeah, not the best comment, I agree. But sometimes in anger, we say things stupidly. Not 6.5 years in jail stupid, though. The Crown and judge repeatedly brought up a message with a friend named Corey, where I told him not to come to Coots if police were arresting, and that it would be the worst mistake the RCMP made if they did. I wasn't given the opportunity to prove what I said. These were responses to, because I never got out of jail and had internet access. Corey and I were posting on a post in the AB Coots Convoy page on Facebook, and I wasn't sure if he was seeing my responses to things because so many people were posting comments, and comments would only stay on the screen for seconds, so we were also talking in Messenger. Corey's wife was in the Philippines, and he had his daughters, and made a comment about not being sure if he should come because of what people were saying, the RCMP were saying, so I responded to him in Messenger. So this goes on and on for a while, you guys. Sound sucks again? All right. Well, We're going to go ahead and do a test again. 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we better? You guys missed all of that? All right, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will put that post up on the Facebook page right after the show is over tonight. That means the whole show, the extension and everything on the website, shadowdavis.com. So we're better now. Keep talking. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so I that is a mystery to me. But anyway, here we are. Okay, so let's get on with the show tonight for you. But first, the Shadow at Night live stream is brought to you by Canada Nano Silver. CanadaNanoSilver.ca. The silver lozenges. Reach for Silver Biotics lozenges with vitamin C to quickly cool and soothe a sore throat with an added boost of support for your immune system. Each package contains 21 individually wrapped lozenges, and they come in different flavors like Manuka honey, the vitamin C, that's the orange splash, honey, and elderberry zinc. They soothe and cool. Ooh. Somebody posted in the Shadow at Night community. You can see that on Telegram there at the bottom right hand of the screen. They soothe and cool your throat while supporting your immune system. Safe and effective alternative to products made with chemicals, made with cooling organic mint and soothing organic honey. Gluten-free, soy-free, nut-free, does not contain preservatives, dyes, artificial flavors. You can get these awesome silver lozenges at CanadaNanoSilver.com. That is nano... I'm all rattled because of the garbled sound earlier, you guys. I don't get rattled very often, but I'm rattled right now. CanadaNanoSilver.com. It's the new website. It's way better than the old website, CanadaNanoSilver.ca. But if you go there, it'll redirect you to this new one, CanadaNanoSilver.com, to buy online. If you're looking for a retail location, of which there are 30 all across the country, you can hit the Retail Locations tab. That's right here. And if you would like to become a retailer of these awesome products, get a hold of Kevin and Anna through the Contact tab at CanadaNanoSilver.com. That is CanadaNanoSilver.com. All right. Let's get down to it. By the way, I want to thank you guys for letting me know the audio sucked. Because if I didn't know that, I would have kept going right through the entire thing, and you guys would have been sitting there going, come on. And it was already bad enough, wasn't it? Okay. Let's get down to the stories that we're going to cover for you tonight from TNC.news. The Liberal government is now threatening, well, it might be a bit strong. Yeah, I'd say threatening uncooperative provinces with forced asylum seeker relocation plan because Ontario's got too many of these folks, and so does Quebec. And by the way, the Bloc Québécois, one of the conditions of forming a new alliance with the Liberal government to keep them in power is to reduce the number of asylum seekers and immigrants that Quebec has to take in. You think this might be some kind of motivation for the Liberals to pull a move like this? Absolutely. They don't want to lose any. If they lose their support in Ontario and Quebec, and I checked the map last night, the Liberals would be down to maybe 10 seats across the country. They might get 3 or 4 in Manitoba. They might get 1 or 2 in BC and a few in the Maritimes. But if they lost their support and all of their seats in Ontario and Quebec, they'd be a rump party again, which is something I'd love to see. But they're making sure that's not going to happen. This is political. This has nothing to do with the people involved, us or them. It's all about politics. Mark Miller, he's the immigration minister, threatened to use any available levers against provinces that don't comply with this proposed plan to relocate asylum seekers originally destined for Quebec and Ontario to provinces with a lower ratio of refugee claimants to its population. According to a Liberal government briefing document obtained by True North, the proposed plan would have provinces take in a proportionate share of the asylum claimant population. It outlines a quota for each province to accept based on a proportion of each province's current population. The document shows that Quebec and Ontario are currently the most popular destinations for asylum seekers in Canada, taking in the most refugee applicants. According to StatsCan reports from June of this year, 453,032. That number again, 453,302 individuals are seeking or have been granted asylum in Canada. The briefing said 235,825 asylum claims are currently open where a decision has not yet been rendered. But you could bet they'll render it. Positive stamp, you're in. If each were accepted, the plan would have Ontario take in 91,972 asylum seekers, 39% of the share. This is down from 105,926 they would have taken in otherwise. Around 6,200 claimants have not been assigned to a province or territory, which slightly skews the percentage of total refugee claimants taken by each province. The briefing shows Quebec would take in around 34.1% of the humanitarian volume, quote unquote, defined as the number of current refugees and applying asylum seekers, accepting 51,882 new potential asylum seekers, down from 99,726. Quebec would see a reduction of 47,671 new asylum seekers, taking in 22% of the potential new asylum seekers. At the same time, Ontario would have 13,956 fewer asylum claimants than before the plan, totaling 39% of the new asylum seekers. That's crazy. It's political. It's obviously political. And Trudeau has no shame. He has found a way, once again, to wedge East and Western Canada versus each other. And he's using people to do it. The people who are here because they want a better life. Most of them, I would say. Some are smugglers, human smugglers, drug dealers, gang members, whatnot. But most of them, I would suggest, are here for a better life. And Trudeau is treating them like cattle for political reasons. It's absolutely. When we said for the past 5 years, they'd never do that. No, they'd never do that. No, you'd never do that. They would do anything to stay in power because to them, it's an aphrodisiac. Them without power, they may as well die, especially somebody with an ego like Justin Trudeau. This week, the Bloc Québécois positioned itself to form a coalition with the Liberals, keeping them in power. And one of its demands is that the government reduce immigration to Quebec. BC could take in 32,544 new asylum seekers if their claims were accepted. Before the plan, BC was positioned to take in only 11,421. In a statement posted to X, BC Conservatives fought back, claiming the government was forcing this upon British Columbians without a plan for increased financial support. Here is John Rustad. I think we have a video of John Rustad. No, we don't have video of John Rustad. He is the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. And he's lashing out. David Eby, the current NDP premier, has said nothing. Mark Miller, the immigration minister, has not responded to True North's requests for comment. Rustad said the province's healthcare, education, social services were already stretched thin, and the influx of immigrants without appropriate financial support would only exacerbate the challenges. Blaine Higgs of New Brunswick fought back against the government's plan, which outlined an increase of more than 10 times the number of claims that province currently has. Instead of 384, they would take in 4,568 new asylum seekers if their claims were accepted. Yes, we do have video from Blaine Higgs. He is the Premier of New Brunswick.
Now we've learned. Provincial officials were invited to the conference call in which it was shared by the federal officials in Ottawa that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau government is considering a plan to send 4,600 asylum seekers to New Brunswick without providing any financial assistance or any opportunity for us to have the ability to build the resources and the capability to manage. Keep in mind that we currently have just under 400 asylum seekers in the province. This is an increase of more than 10 times our current level of asylum seekers. As leaders in your community who already see how our system is grappling with our existing population explosion, just think about this for a moment. Do you think Moncton could handle potentially thousands more people without the support or the housing to back that up? Now let's be clear, New Brunswick has always been a welcoming province, and we will continue to be so. We have a long history of embracing diversity and helping those in need, and our immigrant population are making our province what it is today, bigger and greater than it's ever been. But this sudden and unilateral proposal by Ottawa is deeply concerning, and I feel obligated to share the challenges it will bring to our province.
Mark Miller, the federal immigration minister, said most of what Higgs said, that's not factual. That's what he said. Here is the full statement from Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. Alberta's government is opposed to the federal government's plan to relocate tens of thousands of asylum claimants to Alberta, especially without any financial assistance to support the province in doing so. Alberta has always welcomed newcomers who possess our shared values. She mentions that a couple of times and will continue to do so. However, last year alone, an all-time record of over 200,000 people moved to Alberta. That's like adding 2 new Red Deer-sized cities in just 1 year. Although Alberta represents only 11.8% of the Canadian population, we're currently supporting approximately 22%, over 70,000 of Ukrainian evacuees who arrived in Canada. Section 95 of the Constitution is clear. Immigration is an area of shared authority between the federal government and the provinces, yet the Trudeau government's unrestrained open border policies permitting well over 1 million newcomers each year into Canada is causing significant challenges, and it's simply not sustainable. Excessive levels of immigration to this province, Alberta, is increasing the cost of living and strains public services for everyone. We're informing the government of Canada that until further notice, Alberta is not open to having these additional asylum seekers settled in our province. We simply cannot afford it. Now, the left-wing corporate media went off on Danielle, especially for her line about, where is it again? Shared values. They didn't like that. But we're going to get into the Haitian voodoo thing in just a little bit, you guys, on the show. And you're going to see. I mean, you already know that when you bring people of certain religious backgrounds into a country of people with other certain religious backgrounds, there's going to be a clash. And it's not just religious, because our culture is based on religion. It is. Whether we choose to believe that or not, it is. Canada is a Christian country based on Christian principles. And over there in the East, what we've got is Muslim countries based on Muslim principles, and voodoo countries based on voodoo principles. And we're going to get to that. Canada's Consul General says he had nothing to do with the purchase of that brand new $9 million residence in New York City. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know nothing about real estate. Canada's Consul General in New York told members of a House of Commons committee today that he had nothing to do with the purchase of this new official residence in New York City, and he doesn't know when he will be moving in. $9 million on Billionaires Row in Manhattan. It's on the east side of Central Park, one of the most expensive areas in New York City. Here's a little bit of video from today's House of Commons committee.
For 6 minutes, please. Go ahead, sir. Clark, how long were you residing in the old residence?
How long was I well, from the time I arrived, February 27th, 2023, until today.
The listing for that property describes it as a masterpiece. Is that right? Is that how it's described?
I know nothing about real estate.
Well, you're here to talk about it today, so I hope you're prepared to turn your mind to it. The Prime Minister visited you in New York City on April 27th of that year that you moved in. Is that right?
I believe that's correct. He was here on a mission. Yep.
Did you host the Prime Minister in the residence?
I did.
Did you show him around?
Around the residence? No.
Yeah. No, you didn't show him around.
Nope.
What did he comment on the look of it?
No.
So, but to confirm that on April 27th, you and the Prime Minister were in the residence that was deemed unfit for you to continue living in. That's correct. You were there April 27th.
Yeah, along with about 80 other people.
And on April 28th, you were in the limo with him in New York. Is that right? The next day?
That's correct.
So, were there any conversations regarding renovations, upgrade, moving, the former occupants of that condo, or you now occupying it? Any change in discussions regarding which representative in New York was occupying that space? Did that come up at all?
None whatsoever.
So we have government documents that detail how talks on getting a new residence intensified immediately after the Prime Minister visited you. You asked him for a new place, is that right?
That's incorrect.
So you're in the motorcade with the Prime Minister after he was just in this place that's deemed unfit for you to continue to live in, and you never said, look, buddy, thanks for the job. I could use a new, jeweled, onyx powder room, and a handcrafted copper tub?
No, I did not.
How much representational space is there in the new residence?
Representational space would represent the majority of the space in the new residence.
Okay, that's interesting. So the dining room, living room, jeweled onyx powder room come to about 860 square feet. Does that sound about right to you? That's what the listing says.
I have no idea about square feet. I would refer you to the property division at Global Affairs who handles
So
this.
that leaves about 2,700 square feet for your personal use. 860 for representational, 2,700 for your personal use.
2,700 square feet in an apartment condo on the east side in Manhattan for your personal use. And that other 800 square feet, that's when you want to have dignitaries in. We'll sit down, have a cup of tea, then I'll kick them out, go back to the football game.
So Canadians are on the hook for paying $9 million for 860 square feet when a perfectly good joint representational space is available at the same property that you're joining us at from today. Is that right?
Your numbers can't be right because that does not represent reality.
Okay, so what is the percentage of representational space in the new location? Please bring us back to reality.
That is a question, Mr. Chair, that should be addressed to the property division at Global Affairs Canada.
Well, you had a great deal of certainty to tell me that I'm wrong, but you certainly don't know on what basis I am. I'm referring to exactly the documents that were provided to us by the department that you're now referring me to. GAC's real estate agent told us that you personally visited the new luxury condo once the selection had been made. Was this a final vetting?
Not at all. It was after the offer had been made to buy it that I first saw it.
Did you ever take a moment, as someone who spent a career in journalism, to question the Prime Minister or anyone on the opulence of this location amid the backdrop of the cost of living crisis that we're facing here in Canada? StatsCan saying that 1 in 4 Canadians are going to be using food banks to feed themselves and their families this month. Did that ever occur to you?
As I said in my opening statement, Mr. Chair, I am well aware of the challenges being faced by both Canadians and Americans when it comes to housing. In this case, I was not involved in any way, shape, or form in the decision to buy this new residence or sell the old residence. And that is entirely in the hands of the property division of Global Affairs.
When you host functions at the event, do you personally prepare the food? Is it done by your personal chef, or are these events catered?
I do not have a personal chef, nor do I cook the food, thankfully.
So these are catered affairs, because we were told by the real property division that the necessity for this was that the shared space that you have at the office that you're in now wasn't suitable to host functions because there wasn't a kitchen to prepare meals. So if the meals are being brought in, couldn't they be brought into your office that you're speaking to us from now?
The bylaws of New York City prohibit us from having a working kitchen in the office. It would be illegal, in fact, for us to put a working kitchen in this office.
If it's catered, it seems moot whether or not you have a kitchen in there. We've been told that you're responsible for all of the trade success between Canada and the United States. Can you tell us exactly, just the number, how much trade business you have generated for Canada? Just the number, sir.
First of all, Mr. Chair, I don't know where or who said that I was responsible for all the trade between Canada and the United States.
Since you don't have the number, I'm out of time. Canadians want to know.
Well,
You're the $9 million man. They want to know what the value is for Canadians. Sir, keep your bags packed in that new place. Conservatives are going to fire you. For 6 minutes, please. Go ahead, sir.
I like that. You know what? These Canadian committees are not nearly as fiery as the American counterparts, but sometimes when you get the right guys in there, and Larry Brock is a real good one for this, unless he's being interrupted by the Liberals constantly. Point of order, chair. Point of order, chair. They can get some pretty dramatic guests in there. And they've had a lot over this past summer, which is something that a lot of people don't know. The committees, regardless of whether the House of Commons is risen for the summer. The committees remain. And these MPs continue to go to Ottawa most of the time. Sometimes they're broadcasting via Zoom into these committees, but most of the time they're there, sitting there live, questioning these witnesses over allegations that have been revealed to be true. Justin Trudeau's cabinet has been bleeding Canadians dry for their own personal benefit and business benefit for the past 5 or 6 years. It's been discovered. The left-wing corporate media hasn't been reporting on it. Thank goodness for shows like Northern Perspective and the Celtic Canuck on YouTube, who will cover this stuff. I don't cover a lot of it because, generally speaking, it is kind of dull. And there's so much of it that we have to cover. And those shows, let's be honest, they're more political than my show. My show can be political, but it also dives into the deeper issue that we're all facing, right? Which is the World Economic Forum and the cabal and all that. But when we get down to what's been happening in these committees over the past couple of months, those guys have been doing an excellent job of getting the dirt that we need to hold these idiots, the Liberals, accountable for the things they've been doing. They have been stealing, literally stealing money from the Canadian public. And the left-wing corporate media remains mute. They will not talk about it. Jagmeet Singh came out of his caucus retreat today. All of the 24 NDP caucus members were holding a retreat in Montreal. And now apparently he's against the carbon tax. Let's hear what Jagmeet.
We want to see an approach to fighting the climate crisis where it doesn't put the burden on the backs of working people, where big polluters have to pay their fair share. They have to pay the price of their pollution, but it shouldn't be on working people's shoulders. And so we've been working on a plan, and we'll be releasing our plan, our vision for how we can do that in a stronger way in the coming months.
Would the plan include a consumer carbon tax?
We'll let you know when the plan is ready, and we'll let you know more details about it.
True leadership is often shown when the going gets.
Okay, so now we've got Stephen Guilbeault, the environment minister, ragging on Jagmeet Singh for pulling out of the deal.
The reason I came into politics is to fight climate change, which is why I was so disappointed to see Jagmeet Singh's NDP cave to Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative misinformation and disinformation campaign on carbon pricing. Putting a price on pollution is the best way to reduce emissions.
Even though they can't show us any figures or statistics that show that is the case. These people lie. Here's Pierre Poilievre talking to a bunch of factory workers in Ontario.
I got this guy comes from Sudbury, okay? He's not driving a brand new vehicle, so the price of gas going up, and then your rent, your mortgage, all that is the expense of that. They would talk about all this carbon tax, but at the same time, for what? What has it done other than put money in their pockets? Like that's the part that I don't get. You want to talk about environment? We're one of the smartest countries when it comes to innovation. Wouldn't it make more sense to go into innovation? To like our vehicles now, we got emission systems on there. We have emission systems that you can just refine on. There's other ways to help the environment, and we're not the only people on this earth. Why are we being penalized? You go to other countries, they have zero, but we got to meet in emissions. So again, it doesn't make any sense.
But the big, for employees to make more, I need to make more to pay them more, because I'm not making more money as it is. You know, I built a brand new shop and now I have that much more.
Which tax hurts you the most as a businessman?
I'm going to say the carbon tax.
Carbon tax.
Because that touches everything I touch.
Yeah. So Poilievre wants to get rid of it, and he's doing it smartly. There's a lot of people, and myself included. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't get frustrated with Pierre Poilievre. And yes, you know, people have asked me, and I always respond the same way. If I were to look at all of the political parties equally, like they all had an equal chance to win, then I would probably vote PPC. I would probably vote for Maxime Bernier because his policies are the ones I most identify with. And they're all very common sense policies. But they don't. The PPC does not have a chance to win. So what we need to do in order to get this Marxist left-wing nightmare out of our country is side with Pierre Poilievre. But we have to keep him on his toes as well. Does he say a lot of the things I agree with? Yeah, but he says some things or doesn't say a lot of things, which I find frustrating, that I want to hear him say. And I'm sure you do as well. He's starting to come out more, a little bit more about immigration, not giving numbers, at least not yet. But at least he's talking about it. And why? Because he saw the polls. He said 70% of Canadians are upset and frustrated. And wait until people in Alberta, British Columbia, and New Brunswick start seeing this influx of newcomers, asylum seekers to their provinces, completely taking over neighborhoods. They are going to freak out, much like the people in Springfield, Ohio are freaking out right now. It doesn't matter where these folks are coming from unless they're coming from Christian countries like Canada. So that would be Western European countries, that would be Australia, that would be Nordic countries like that, where we can, may have a language barrier, but at least we agree on a common social principle. We don't behead geese in the park and leave their heads behind for kids to see, and then take the carcass of that goose and barbecue it for some kind of voodoo ritual. We're going to get to the voodoo stuff. I want to show you guys this to see how stupid it's gotten in our country. There's a woman, Cat Canada posted this. Originally, the story comes from left-wing corporate CTV. Woman facing charges of assault with a weapon after accidentally spraying her neighbor with a water pistol.
A Simcoe woman has found herself in hot water after an incident involving a water gun. She says a neighbor called police after she accidentally sprayed him with a toy water gun. Not only did police show up, but they charged her. CTV's Jeff Pickle joining us now with more on this. And Jeff, really no laughing matter here. The woman facing a rather serious charge.
Tony, very serious. And Wendy Washik is a 58-year-old educational assistant. She says she was playing around with some kids from the neighborhood at a backyard barbecue when she accidentally hit the neighbor with the water from the water gun. Police were called and they have laid a charge of assault with a weapon.
Yeah, very similar to that, like a pump style.
On most days, it's a harmless toy. But right now, a water gun is a major source of anxiety for 58-year-old Wendy Washik.
I've cried myself to sleep many nights.
According to Washik, she was visiting neighbors in a backyard and started playing with some of the kids.
And because I love kids and work with kids, I asked him if he had any water guns, and he said, yeah.
Washik says she was chasing one of the kids from the backyard to the front yard when the incident happened.
I was trying to figure out how the water gun was working. It's not like I play with water guns at this age. As I was going through the gate, and it accidentally hit the neighbor that was like maybe 3 feet away cutting his grass.
She says the man called police, who arrived and spoke with him, but she says police never talked to her.
They had told my husband to bring your wife out of the backyard, that I'm being charged with assault with a weapon. They didn't ask me one single question. They didn't interview one single person.
Washik, who works as an educational assistant, says she has been put on leave by her school board.
And the mental and financial stress that has been put on my family, my children, and my husband is not right and is not fair.
Neighbors say they've had ongoing issues with the man who phoned police.
Lots of neighbors, police called on him, and they're constantly here.
It's been a reoccurring issue on the street of police being at his house for very, very minor issues.
Bobby and her son Liam say they crossed the street just to avoid the man's home.
The friends are allowed to come to our house, but we no longer allow them to come to this house.
The neighbors we spoke with say they feel police are being weaponized against them.
I don't think it should be that way. I think our system's really messed up when it comes to that.
We all get along fine. We're not calling the police on our other neighbors. It's always the one individual who's calling the police out.
According to Norfolk County OPP, they will not comment on specifics of this incident, but do say we are committed to maintaining high standards in our investigative work, regardless of how the public may perceive the allegation.
High standards in our investigative work. You come out to an incident where a woman accidentally hit her neighbor with a super soaker, interview nobody, and then charge the woman with assault. Wow, that's high standards in your investigative work, guys. You understand that when this gets to court, this guy's probably going to be noted by the judge as a vexatious litigant and be tossed out before it even gets heard. So good job, Kitchener Police. Congratulations. Well done. Unbelievable stupidity. And our tax dollars going to pay for that. We have a comment up on the screen here from a guy named Kirk, and Kirk says conservatives should form a coalition with the PPC. That way they're not splitting the vote. Well, Kirk, I've asked Maxime Bernier about this a couple of times. He's been on the show, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and I've said, hey, listen, why don't you go back to the conservatives? I will never go back to the conservatives. Because he believes they're sellouts. He believes that Pierre Poilievre is a sellout, and he's only saying what people want to hear to get elected. And hey, look, that could be true. Poilievre is a career politician, but then again, so is Maxime Bernier. Let's not forget that Maxime Bernier was a minister in the Harper cabinet, and he made a couple of very critical mistakes. And Bernier has also been to the World Economic Forum. Pierre Poilievre never has been. At least there's no record of him ever being at the World Economic Forum. I know you guys want to go in the Wayback Machine and look at Pierre Poilievre's profile on the World Economic Forum website, and that's fine. You know, there's all kinds of pictures of me online posing with people I don't know on other people's websites. I suppose they could take these pictures from 2002 or 1994 and say, look at Shadow Davis posing with a rapist. Did I know the guy was? No. And maybe he wasn't even at that time. This is the problem with going back in time and looking at things that may or may not be real or way out of context. As far as forming a coalition with the People's Party, from the Conservative point of view, the Conservative Party point of view, they don't need to. They are leading in the polls by 20 points right now. And the only pollster that shows them leading by less is Nanos. And Nanos typically leans left, meaning towards the Liberals. And even Nanos has got the Conservatives up by 17 or 18 points. So when you take the average, you're talking about the Conservatives leading the Liberals by 20 points. So I don't believe there is any vote splitting at all. Thank you for that comment, though. Let's go back to Jagmeet Singh for 22 seconds here.
I said this to Justin Trudeau, years ago when I was fighting to force Justin Trudeau and the Liberals to deliver things like dental care, that if you ever make back to work legislation a confidence vote, we will always vote against that. So you can never count on our support. Whatever you say, you want to make it a confidence vote, make it one. We're still going to vote against it because we oppose undermining working people.
All right. So why is that important? Because as of tonight, Air Canada pilots will probably be going on strike. And the Liberals are talking about putting in back to work legislation. The NDP is totally against that. So if this comes up in a vote next week, is that Jagmeet Singh saying he will vote against that Liberal motion to enforce back to work legislation? You know, the Conservatives are going to vote against the Liberals every chance they get on every issue they get, whether they agree with them or not. So right now, our biggest concern is the Bloc Québécois, who want to form some kind of a coalition with the Trudeau Liberals so they can stay in power. And the Bloc is quite happy about it as well. And the Bloc have got more MPs than the NDP do. The Bloc have got, I think, 35 or 36. The NDP's only got 24. So with the Bloc, the Liberals are able to wipe out all of the other opposition parties. But how does that look to the rest of Canada? You're forming an alliance with a party that wants to break up our country, you traitorous SOB. Conservatives say, from National News Watch, conservatives say they have a solution for online harassment after the Liberals have failed. Of course, all the Online Streaming Act, all the censorship bills the Liberals have passed and will be passing. Bill C-63 hopefully never gets through. Hopefully it doesn't get through before the Liberals are booted out of office. But this is Michelle Rempel-Garner with her idea. She says the Conservatives will introduce a bill in the House of Commons next week to protect people from online harassment, not necessarily censorship, just if you're being harassed by an ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, ex-girlfriend, or something like that. Rempel says the Liberals have had almost 10 years and tried to pass 2 bills to address the growing problem of online criminal harm and have failed. They have actually passed bills that restrict news in this country, though. Isn't it amazing that, they can restrict news, but they somehow can't seem to get to the harassment part? Her bill will modernize the existing law against criminal harassment so a victim can ask a judge to force social media companies to identify someone who has repeatedly harassed them online. So no more trolls, right? So if you're like Billy Bitch online, and you're like, I'm going to go and disrupt this guy's stream, or I'm going to go and tackle this guy's post, and I'm going to ruin it for everybody. It won't be able to be anonymous anymore if the judge gives permission for that social media company to reveal who this person is. The bill sets out a requirement for online companies to give parents the tools to keep their kids safe, introduce algorithms that verify a user's age without requiring digital ID. Rempel Garner insists her approach would not constrict freedom of speech, one of the criticisms of the Online Harms Act introduced by the Liberals last winter. That legislation would create new requirements for social media companies to protect their users from sexual victimization, hatred, and bullying, and establish a new regulator to enforce it. Of course, there's always got to be another new bureaucracy, right? Kamala Harris had a rally in Charlotte, North Carolina today, and it actually, you know, it's not as big as a Trump rally, but it looks pretty good. Let's have a look at some video here. All right. So I mean, that video doesn't give us any kind of idea really how many people are there, and that's probably intentional. But if you look at it, they're going through this crowd. I'm going to say that's 2,000-3,000 people. That's not bad. But wait. And remember that Trump gets, 70,000 out to one of his outdoor events. I think one of his records is 102,000. Gets arenas filled constantly. But George tells us on X that Kamala Harris campaign just got caught bussing in thousands of people for her rally in North Carolina. And here's video of that. There is no audio on this, by the way. Just get all those buses lined up, people getting off the buses. Oh. Busted. People bust in from who knows where. Oh, now here's something very damning as well. James O'Keefe, you know who he is, formerly of Project Veritas. Now he's got his own thing called OMG Media. This is O'Keefe Media Group. Here is James O'Keefe confronting Google growth strategist Dakota Leeser on Google definitely coordinating with the Kamala Harris campaign. Let's watch this.
My name is James O'Keefe, and we're doing a story about Google.
Okay.
Google is coordinating.
I've never said that. No, I don't know.
You've never said that?
This is like a coordinated effort by like big tech, like big companies to like try and get her to win. Yeah, it's definitely coordinated. Yeah.
What's going on? They're reorienting the search engine. These are your words. You don't remember saying that?
No. They're reorienting the search engine such that Kamala is more, favored.
It doesn't look good when you lie about these things.
I don't want to say
You don't want to say anymore. You've said a lot.
Here on the streets of Los Angeles, he's been rendered mute when I've asked him to elaborate about what he meant by what he said. What's controversial about Google coordinating with Kamala Harris? This is a huge election. There's going to be a lot of people doing some not so nice things. See you later. And
Google is coordinating with the Harris campaign to reorient the search engines. We've already seen that. When you try and Google certain things about Donald Trump, it doesn't come up. Or something will come up that has to do with Kamala Harris, not Donald Trump. You go, wait a minute, that's not what I Googled. That's not what I'm looking for. What the hell's going on? Well, O'Keefe, because of his undercover work and the people he has in his media group who do great undercover work with good miking, it's really good. Got that guy pretty high up in Google to admit it on camera and on microphone that Google is working with the Harris campaign to coordinate their search engine in favor of Kamala Harris. But here's the thing. Is anybody going to do anything about it? Is that going to be rushed to the DOJ and say, hey, you guys have got to investigate this. This is way wrong, man. Is James O'Keefe going to be able to take it to his congressman or his senator and say, hey, watch this? Or is he just going to sit there? It's all about public pressure. It's all about us. It's all about the people. If the people of the United States, enough of them see that, and I wish we had more people like this in Canada. I wish I was able to go ahead and do that, but that takes a lot of money. Anyway, it would be great to be able to go out with these people and get this stuff on video and put it out there, right? And then you guys get active on it. You guys, all of us, we all together call our MPs, MLAs and say, what the heck? But for some reason in Canada, we don't do that. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because we think it's a useless proposition, or that we're lazy about it, or we forget, or we don't care. I don't know. I still haven't, after all this time, I still haven't figured it out yet. MAGA, this is from Newsweek, as you can see. MAGA pushing claims of ABC whistleblower after the Harris-Trump debate. This is interesting. And Newsweek, of course, gives it a very left-wing confirmation bias tilt here. After what some pundits and political experts describe as a rocky performance by Donald Trump during his debate with Kamala Harris, and I'm one of those pundits, some of his supporters are accusing ABC of bias, even suggesting that Harris was given the debate questions in advance, which seems perfectly logical and likely because she's not at all quick on her feet. You've seen her, you know. Tuesday night's debate moderated by David Muir and Lindsay Davis of ABC. And by the way, every time Lindsay was looking at Trump, she had this scowl on her face. I'm not sure if you noticed that. It's been criticized by Trump and his allies, who say the two moderators unfairly targeted Trump while favoring Harris. That's absolutely true. The controversy escalated online when a self-proclaimed whistleblower used X, this guy Doc Net YouTube, a self-described MAGA supporter, to say an affidavit, I'm not sure if there's any truth to this, an affidavit alleging the debate was rigged will be released. He says, or she says, I will be releasing an affidavit from an ABC whistleblower regarding this debate. I've just signed a non-disclosure agreement with the attorney of the whistleblower. Conservative accounts like Mila Loves Joe, Chuck Calesto, Real Ben Geller, which have combined followings over 1 million, quickly amplified this whistleblower story. So who knows? Who knows? Now, apparently, Kamala's up for another debate, but Trump is not. Isn't that kind of mind-blowing? In a viral moment in this debate from Tuesday night, Donald Trump said, in Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. David Muir told Trump that Springfield city manager had said there were no credible reports of pets being harmed by immigrants. Trump replied that he had seen the claim on television, which was probably not a great thing to say either. He'd say, I've seen actual video and heard actual audio of police reports from Springfield, Ohio, from people claiming to have seen this and are reporting it live. The president of the Springfield nonprofit Haitian Community Help and Support Center, Vils Dorsavin, said to NBC on Wednesday, the recent vitriol aimed at Haitians in Springfield has them scared for their lives. The Haitians. All right. So let's quickly go to Benin. Benin is a country in West Africa. As you can see, it's bordered by Togo on the west and Nigeria on the east and Burkina Faso on the north. Now, why am I bringing Benin, Africa up? Well, because I went looking for voodoo and animal sacrifices online earlier this afternoon. And I came up with all kinds of interesting websites and blogs. And this one in particular caught my eye. This goes back 10 years, my friends, 10 years. A young lady called Katie in Benin is doing a blog, What Life is Like in Benin, Africa. And so she writes, I previously wrote about how pet owners in Benin, again, 10 years, this is 10 years old, pet owners in Benin protect their animals from being taken and used in voodoo. Voodoo ceremonies. They cut off a tip of the ear or tail so the animal is no longer perfect and therefore of no ceremonial value. Below are some photos of my host family's newest cat, Minu. See, look at the cat's got a little bit of the ear snipped because when these voodoo people are running around looking for cats to sacrifice, they got to be perfect. And if they're missing part of an ear, well, that doesn't work. She goes on to say here, once again, it's Oro season. That time of year when I have to leave my village or stay inside while a cult of machete-wielding men run around with impunity. It's both cooler and way, way less cool than it sounds. Unfortunately, this year it comes right in the middle of my very last week in the village, blah, blah, blah. But such is life in Africa. In honor of the time when voodoo is most visible in my community, I thought I'd share how we in Dagby protect our furry friends from voodoo. First of all, most people don't have dogs. Pets aren't friends. They're food, or they eat pests. There's no sense of sentimentalizing animals that you're going to eat or for whom there is a high percentage that they'll die or disappear. That being said, cats are a relatively common household animal since they eat mice and rats. But cats, among many, many other animals, are used sometimes in grease. This is the form of voodoo that Americans might call black magic. It's sorcery used to hurt someone. Most voodoo priests will tell you that this goes against their religion, which is mostly true, but people use it against those suspected of theft or other bad behaviors. I'm not sure how common it is to grease someone, since most Beninese do not like to talk about it with anyone, let alone a nosy foreigner who wouldn't understand anyway. But she says, I've been able to confirm that some people use cats in some sort of sacrifice. I also know that people eat cats sometimes, though I've never been able to confirm if the two are related. My guess is not. All right. So that's just some girl blogging in Africa. And that's where the voodoo in Haiti has been imported from, right? Here is a video of a woman in Springfield being arrested by police after a report from people that said she was eating a cat. You might be disturbed by this. I'm just letting you know in advance. So let's go ahead and play this.
What did you do? Why'd you kill the cat? Smile for me. Smile, what did you do? Go like this. Did you eat that cat? Did you eat it? No, why'd you kill it? Did you guys see all this?
No, we pulled up and she was just laying there with it.
Did you see her eating it?
Eating it.
She was eating it?
Yeah, she was.
You call the Humane Society to see if they'll come pick this cat up. It's deceased. What did...
Yeah. Okay. Now, here's another video. This guy, Taylor USA. Thank you for this one, by the way, Sean. Much appreciated. Oh, they're not eating the animals in Springfield, y'all. That's fake news. It's really voodoo. So this is an interview with somebody who lives in Springfield, Ohio, by this guy here. So let's go ahead and watch.
There's been a lot of allegations of animals going missing, ducks being basically
Yes, sir.
taken.
There's pictures of that too.
Can you speak on that? Have you ever seen that in person?
I've seen, the only thing I've seen, I did see a pig's head laying down in Snyder Park.
You saw a pig's head?
A pig's head.
Like it had been...
So he says, ever seen any people eating cats or anything like that? No, sir, I haven't. I saw a pig's head. Like that's any better?
And cut off? Or?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't really see that every day, do you?
No, you don't. It's kind of surprising.
Wow.
But then our city wants to pass it off as cult stuff.
As cult stuff?
Yeah.
Do you think that has anything to do with, like the connections with voodoo that Haitians commonly have? I mean, in Haiti,
Well,
it's a
there's
very
actually,
commonly practiced thing.
I'm sorry. There's actually been a couple people that I know that have been told that they were going to be cursed by voodoo.
By Haitians?
By Haitians.
So that actually is a
Haitians
real
told them
thing
that.
here.
Yes.
That them practicing voodoo with animals, pig's head.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's you don't hear that every day. That's crazy. How long have you been
Could be that I'm getting a drop off in internet right now, you guys, but yeah, pig's head. So, is there a voodoo problem in Ohio right now? I mean, there's a video, but we're going to play this in the extension tonight on shadowdavis.com for all access members by Tyler Oliveira, who has gone down to Springfield and interviewed people who have lived there for a very long time and some of the newcomers from Haiti about what's going on down there. Now, obviously, you would think that any Haitian who's approached by a white guy with a microphone and a camera is going to be a little bit cautious and not going to want to call his people out too much, right? Because he doesn't want to get anybody in trouble. It's a tight-knit community. Having said that, when you're talking about a city of 60,000 people receiving a sudden influx all at once of 20,000 people from a completely different culture who sacrifice goats, smear themselves in animal blood, then dance themselves into a trance during annual religious ceremonies. That's Easter, by the way, in Haiti. I think you're probably going to have a problem. You can't do that. And the authorities should know better. But they do know better, and they're doing it anyway. Why? Well, in Canada, I believe it, obviously, you know this, it has to do with the UN migration plan, the open borders plan, the World Economic Forum, and of course, this initiative that came down the pipe from the McKinsey people about 11 or 12 years ago that Justin Trudeau was all over, called the Century Initiative, in which they want to increase Canada's population to 100 million by the year 2100. So that's why all of this is happening. And we're the ones who have to struggle with it. We're the ones who have to pay higher rents, higher prices for everything, pretty much. And we have to put up with our culture being destroyed at the same time. We're not getting them from Haiti, at least not that I know of, but we are getting people here from countries not compatible with our own. And I really don't like to say that because, as you've heard me say in the past, I take people on a one-by-one basis. Are you a dick? No, you seem like a pretty cool guy. Are you a dick? Oh, yes, you are. I'm sorry. I don't care what color your skin is or who you pray to or who you sleep with. That doesn't matter to me. What matters is this whole macro situation that they're forcing us into. They're forcing us into this. In other words, they're taking what we have built and giving it away to people who don't appreciate it because they're being given it. They're not earning it whatsoever. And what happens, I was taught this very young by my dad. What happens when you're given something as opposed to working for it? You don't care about it. You don't take care of it. And eventually it winds up buried someplace or completely broken, destroyed. But if you've worked for something, to buy a car or a house or something, what are you going to do? You can afford, finally, you can afford that car. You're going to take care of that thing, man, like it is the last car on earth. But here you go. Here's the keys. Well, they're just going to drive it until it falls apart. They don't care. They'll just leave it in the street. That's the difference. Hundreds of Haitian voodoo followers gathered for the annual religious ceremony of Souvenance, a suburb in Gonave, north of Port-au-Prince on Easter Sunday. Now, look, guys, this is not from this year. This is from the Daily Mail in 2016. And the reason that I brought this story up is because there's a video that I want to play for you, and hopefully it's still ready to go here. This is a little bit more graphic than the video I played for you earlier. Here we go. Nope. It's not going to work. Let me see if I can go ahead and reboot it. We might have to sit through a commercial here. Haitian voodooists sacrifice goats, dance in trances. 2013. What is this thing here? X out of that. All right, let's go with this. Yeah. I have no idea what this is, splashing in the water. I'm sure it's representative of something. I don't know what, but... It was the goat part that I wanted you guys to see in that video there. To me, that was incredibly graphic. The video I'm going to play for you in the extension tonight talks much more about this and also other problems that the Haitians are causing in Ohio, Springfield to be specific. I'm not sure why they chose that particular place, but that's where they are. So the governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, has deployed the highway patrol to Springfield. And the reason for that is because apparently these Haitians are also terrible drivers. So he has gone and sent the highway patrol to Springfield to deal with traffic problems because of that surge of Haitian migrants. Not at all anything to do with the stealing of cats or geese or anything else. It's all about the traffic, which, yeah, I'll say is pretty bad, according to this video that we're about to play for you in the extension. A couple of last things here before we move to shadowdavis.com for the All Access show. Australia is threatening fines for social media giants for enabling misinformation. My question is, who determines what is misinformation and what isn't? I suppose in Australia's case, it will be, you guessed it, the government. They're going to fine internet platforms up to 5% of their global revenue. Good luck getting that, for failing to prevent the spread of misinformation online, joining a worldwide push to rein in borderless tech giants but angering free speech advocates. What are these guys doing? Why is this so important to them? Because they haven't got control of the narrative anymore. They haven't got control of the narrative. Finally, in France, Brigitte Macron has sued two women who sparked viral claims she's a man. And she won her case. I don't know how. Did she have to prove that she's a woman through photos or genetic testing? I don't know. The French First Lady has been awarded €8,000 in damages in the libel suit after the women sparked the claim prior to the 2022 French presidential election. And here they are, the Macrons, getting off a plane recently. There's Bridget there. Sure looks like a dude to me. And that is it for the social media part of the show tonight, you guys. I'm sorry about the audio difficulties at the beginning of the show. I saw somebody claiming online that I was taking too much CPU and GPU from my computer. That's not true. I've just upgraded it in the last week and a half. It had everything to do with a certain program that was running that shouldn't have. Not that it was taking up too much space. It was interfering with the program that I was using to read you that. As the show has gone on, that's what I've discerned. I've gotten better at that. Maybe I'm going to be an engineer too. But anyway, I will realize that and not do it moving forward. Thank you very much for all of your screaming at me tonight, letting me know that the audio was bad so that I could go ahead and fix it. And I will be putting Chris Carbert's message to all of us up on my Facebook page when the show is over tonight, so you can go ahead and read it for yourself. Have a great night. I will catch you tomorrow night. Yes, we're back to a Monday to Friday format now, so I'll catch you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central for another Shadow at Night live stream. If you're an All Access member, I will see you in 2 minutes on shadowdavis.com. Love you all and appreciate you all. Talk to you soon.